electric power rewrote the rules of acceleration, and the leaderboard has never been more brutal. Today, I am counting down the 12 quickest EVs on sale in America, ranked by 0 to 60. And at the end, the truth about these numbers that most channels will not tell you. Let's get into it. Starting the countdown with the least likely thing on this entire list, a 7-seat family SUV that runs with sports cars. The Cadillac Vistiq. 615 horsepower, 3.7 seconds to 60, and 3 rows of seats with a car seat anchor in the middle one. This is a school pickup vehicle that would embarrass a Corvette from 10 years ago. The Vistiq earned its spot on the 3-row ranking as the luxury sleeper of the family segment, and the performance is the part people never see coming. Cadillac put dual motors and all-wheel drive on every trim, which means there is no slow Vistiq to accidentally buy. The base luxury model launches as hard as the loaded one. Standard Super Cruise handles the boring highway miles hands-free. Then the same vehicle turns a freeway on-ramp into an event. What makes this the perfect opening entry is the context it gives everything above it. 3.7 seconds used to be supercar territory, the stuff of poster cars and lottery daydreams. In 2026, it is the 12th quickest EV in America, and it hauls 7 people while doing it. That is the shift electric power created. The floor of quick moves so high that a family Cadillac barely makes the list. Number 11 is the fastest version of the best-selling vehicle on the planet, the Tesla Model Y Performance. Roughly 3.5 seconds to 60 from a crossover that millions of families use for grocery runs, in a trim that costs a fraction of what this kind of speed used to demand. The performance trim is more than a software unlock. It gets its own suspension tuning to handle the extra output. Upgraded brakes, sport seats, and staggered wheels. The hardware needed to make repeated launches survivable, rather than a party trick you use twice. And it keeps everything that made the Model Y the sales champion this channel has covered all year. 300+ miles of range, the supercharger network, the durability record from the longevity video, and over-the-air updates that keep improving it. The Model Y Performance also sits at the center of the price war we covered on the Performance Bargains list. Hyundai cut the Ioniq 5N specifically to land beside it, and the two now trade blows within a few $100s of each other. For a buyer who wants one car that carries the family, road trips without planning, and still runs mid-3 seconds when the mood strikes, this is the most rational fast EV in America. Not the quickest, probably the most useful. Number 10 is the only vehicle on this list that goes 450 miles between charges and still runs 3.4 seconds to 60. The Lucid Gravity. 7 seats, 3 rows, the longest range of any family SUV in America, an acceleration that would have won supercar comparison tests 15 years ago. What makes the Gravity remarkable is that it does not trade range for speed. Every other approach to fast electric SUVs involves a giant battery and brute force. Lucid's obsession is efficiency, the same engineering that put the Air on top of our range countdown, which means the Gravity gets its speed from motor power density rather than sheer pack size. Smaller battery, more range, and the acceleration comes almost as a side effect of how much power those compact motors produce. This is the family rocket for the parent who refuses to compromise. School run at 8 400-mile road trip at noon, and a launch off the on-ramp that makes the kids scream. The company's turbulence remains the asterisk this channel has covered honestly all season, but as a machine, nothing else on this list carries 7 people this far this fast. Number 9 has the most horsepower of anything under $100,000 on this list. The Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack, 670 horsepower, 3.3 seconds to 60. And all-wheel drive traction the gas Chargers never had. On raw output per dollar, especially at the fire sale prices covered on the Performance Bargains video, 15 to 20,000 under sticker, nothing here comes close. The muscle car identity is fully intact. This is a big, wide, loud American coupe that happens to run on electrons, with the Fratsonic sound system producing a synthesized rumble that shakes pavement and divides the internet. Reviewers who arrived ready to mock it kept leaving impressed by how hard it launches and how comfortably it cruises. The warnings this channel has documented stay attached. Reliability reports have been rough, Stellantis remains in crisis, and the gas-powered Charger 6-pack arriving on the same platform makes this car's future short, which is exactly why the discount exists. Lease it or buy it with the full warranty. And 670 horsepower for low 50,000s is the wildest power per dollar play in America right now. Number 8 is a tie, because these two are mechanically the same weapon, wearing different clothes. The Hyundai Ioniq 5N and the Kia EV6 GT, 641 horsepower each, both around 3.2 seconds to 60, both riding the 800-volt platform, both offering the simulated gear shift technology that turns silent acceleration into theater. The Ioniq 5N is the one making headlines after the $6,300 price cut that dropped it to $59,900. The news that anchored our Performance Bargains video, plus the 10-stage drift optimizer, and a native NACS port for supercharger access. Critics named it EV of the Year, and the simulated 8-speed transmission remains the most convincing driving theater in the electric world. The EV6 GT is the quiet one, and quiet is where bargains hide. Same power, sharper suspension tune, sleeker body, and sales down 37%, which means dealers are dealing without a press release. Cross-shop them against each other, tell both salespeople you are doing it, and let the twins fight over your money. Two of the most entertaining cars in America, and neither one requires 6 figures. Number 7 is the cheapest ticket to this entire list, the Tesla Model 3 Performance. Around 3.1 seconds to 60, closer to 2.9 by the measurement standard most manufacturers use from a 4-door sedan in the low 50,000s. Every other car above this point on the countdown costs more, and most cost far more. Understand what that price buys in historical terms. Sub 3-second acceleration was hypercar territory a decade ago. Cars with scissor doors, impossible insurance, and no backseat. The Model 3 Performance delivers it with room for 5, a trunk, a frunk, nearly 300 miles of range, and access to the supercharger network on a road trip. The performance trim is properly engineered rather than software unlocked. 510 horsepower through dual motors, adaptive suspension tuned for the extra output, sport seats with ventilation, a carbon fiber spoiler, staggered performance wheels, and a dedicated track mode that adjusts stability control, regen, and cooling for repeated hard laps. That cooling matters more than the spec sheet suggests. This car delivers the same launch on the 10th run as the first, which is where electric power quietly humiliates gas machinery. For most people watching this, the countdown effectively ends here. Everything faster demands luxury money, exotic money, or both. The Model 3 Performance is the point where the leaderboard becomes attainable. Number 6 is a pickup truck that beats a Porsche 911 GT3 RS to 60, the Rivian R1T Quad Motor. 1,025 horsepower, 1,198 pound-feet of torque, and a claimed 2.5 seconds to 60 from a vehicle with a bed, a tow rating, and 15 inches of ground clearance. The engineering is the part that impresses. Rivian brought motor design and manufacturing in-house for this generation. 4 motors, 1 at each corner, each managed independently, which is how a truck this heavy puts that much torque down without tearing itself apart. It runs the quarter mile in the low 10-second range at speeds north of 125 miles per hour. That is drag strip, hardware-wearing work boots. The quad also unlocks features nothing else offers, including the kick-turn party trick and a driver-adjustable torque distribution tuner. One honest note, because this channel does not print manufacturer numbers without checking them, independent testing of the quad motor SUV came in around 3 seconds rather than the claimed 2.6 on an unprepared surface. That is still supercar quick, but it is a reminder we will return to at the end of this video. Claim numbers and stopwatch numbers are not the same thing, and the gap is rarely in your favor. Number 5 is the most underrated fast car in America, the Audi RS e-tron GT Performance. 912 horsepower, 2.5 seconds to 62 miles per hour, and a chassis that shares its bones with the car sitting at number 2 on this countdown. The RS e-tron GT and the Porsche Taycan are engineering siblings built on the same platform. You are buying Taycan hardware wearing 4 rings, usually for less money. The party trick lives on the steering wheel. Audi fitted a push-to-pass button that unleashes a 10-second surge of maximum power for overtaking, a boost function borrowed from motorsport, deployed on a public road on demand. 800-volt architecture supports 320 kilowatt charging, which means 10 to 80% in roughly 18 minutes. So the road trip math holds up as well as the launch math. What keeps this car underrated is that Audi never shouts. There's no drift mode marketing campaign, no simulated gearbox, no theater. The RS e-tron GT simply arrives, delivers Porsche-grade dynamics with a quieter badge, and asks less for the privilege. For the buyer who wants the fastest thing on this list that never announces itself, this is the answer. Number 4 is the car Ferrari swore for years it would never build, the Ferrari Lucid. 1,035 horsepower from 4 motors, 1 at each wheel, 730 pound-feet of torque, 2.5 seconds to 62 miles per hour, and a top speed of 193. Ferrari's first fully electric production car in a 79-year history, and it arrived carrying a price that stops conversations. 550,000 euros, which lands around $640,000. Here is what makes the Lucid fascinating beyond the numbers, because early prototype drives have started surfacing, and the details are extraordinary. The car runs 3 distinct personalities. Range mode is rear-wheel drive only for maximum efficiency, holding output around 430 horsepower. Tour mode switches to all-wheel drive at roughly 620. Performance mode unlocks everything, the full 1,000 plus, all 4 wheels driven, and the acceleration that puts it on this list. Then there are the paddles, and this is where Ferrari diverged from everyone else. People assumed the Lucid would copy the simulated gearbox from the Ioniq 5N. It does not. Pull the left paddle, and you drop into a lower torque mode, with regen braking that shifts weight onto the front tires entering a corner, the same sensation as downshifting a gas car, doing the same job of settling the chassis. Exiting the corner, an indicator tells you more torque is available, and you pull the right paddle to release it. 5 levels, driver managed, changing the balance of the car rather than pretending to change gears. Underneath it all sits Ferrari's 3rd generation active suspension, adjusting each corner 200 times every second. The reason testers describe a 5,000-pound car staying dead flat through banked corners and crests. The honest details? The battery is 122 kilowatt hours. Range is around 330 miles on the European cycle, likely closer to 280 once American testing finishes, and it charges at 350 kilowatts. It seats 5 through 4 doors, a first for Ferrari. The design, shaped with Jony Ive's studio, has divided the internet completely. And the practical note for this list: orders are open, deliveries begin in Europe first, and American cars are not expected until 2027. Number 3 is a legend taking its final bow, the Tesla Model S Plaid. 1,020 horsepower, 3 motors, and the number that changed everything. 1.99 seconds to 60, manufacturer stated. When Tesla published that figure, a family sedan with a trunk and back seats had entered territory previously reserved for cars costing 10 times as much, and the entire industry had to respond. The Plaid's real achievement was not the peak number, it was the accessibility of the number. This car has spent years humiliating exotics at drag strips on a Tuesday, then driving home on the Supercharger network without ceremony. No warm-up rituals, no specialist mechanics, no 6-figure service bills. Push the pedal, receive violence, repeat. It democratized hypercar acceleration the way nothing before it had. 2 honest notes. First, independent testing typically lands the Plaid around 2.1 to 2.3 seconds rather than the claimed 1.99. Still astonishing, but a reminder that manufacturer figures come from ideal conditions with a measurement standard we will unpack in a moment. Second, and more significantly, Tesla discontinued the Model S this year, as covered on the Range Countdown. The car that started the modern electric era is ending its run, which makes this entry a last call. Remaining inventory is the final chance to buy one new, and clearance economics on discontinued flagships tend to favor buyers who move before the last example is clear. Number 2 is the one car on this list engineered to be quick more than once. The Porsche Taycan Turbo GT. 1,092 horsepower with overboost engaged, a claimed 1.89 seconds to 60 in its most extreme trim, and a quarter mile in the 9-second range. But the headline figure is the least interesting thing about it. Here's what separates the Turbo GT from everything else on this countdown. A 2-speed gearbox on the rear axle. Every other EV here runs a single ratio, which means acceleration flattens as speed climbs. The Porsche shifts, keeping the motors in their sweet spot deep into triple digits, which is why it dominates on tracks where other electric cars run out of shove and start managing heat instead of making power. That thermal engineering is the real story. Most fast EVs deliver one heroic launch, then quietly reduce output to protect the pack. The Turbo GT was built to repeat itself lap after lap, which is why lap records rather than drag times define its reputation. Independent testing clocks it around 2.1 seconds to 60, slower than the claim, quicker than almost everything on Earth, and it remains the driver's choice of this entire list. Second place on the stopwatch. First place for anyone who measures a car by corners rather than straight lines. And the quickest electric car you can buy in America is the Lucid Air Sapphire. 1,234 horsepower from 3 motors, a claimed 1.89 seconds to 60, a verified top speed of 205 miles per hour, the highest of any production EV sold here. Quarter miles in the low 9-second range at trap speeds north of 155, around $249,000. What makes the Sapphire the correct choice for the crown is the absurdity of what surrounds the speed. This is a 4-door luxury sedan with a real back seat, a real trunk, and range that still lands in the 400-mile neighborhood, the same efficiency engineering that put the Air on top of our longest range countdown, now carrying hypercar output. Cars this quick are supposed to be uncomfortable, impractical, and useless beyond a quarter mile. The Sapphire will out-accelerate almost anything on Earth, and then drive from Los Angeles to Phoenix without stopping. Independent testing lands it near 2.3 seconds, again slower than the claim, again quicker than nearly everything alive. Lucid's corporate turbulence remains the asterisk this channel has documented all season, and buyers should factor it. But the question today is which electric car accelerates hardest? And the answer is a luxury sedan built by engineers who refuse to accept that speed and sensibility were opposites. 3 quick honorable mentions. The Rimac Nevera R holds the fastest verified time in the electric world at roughly 1.66 seconds. But at over $2 million, with barely 150 ever built, it belongs on a fantasy list, not a shopping list. The Hyundai Ioniq 6N arrives later this year at around 3.4 seconds and $54,000, which would place it in the middle of this countdown for Model 3 money, and the Cadillac Escalade IQ deserves recognition for hauling 9,000 pounds with 750 horsepower, proof that even the heaviest thing on the road is quicker than most sports cars were a generation ago. Now, the part most channels skip, every headline time in this video comes with conditions. Manufacturers quote their figures using launch control, a nearly full battery, ideal temperatures, specific tires, and a prepared surface. And most of them include what is called rollout, a 1-foot head start borrowed from drag racing that shaves roughly 1/10 of a second off the result. Independent testers on ordinary pavement consistently record slower times. The Sapphire and the Taycan both land near 2.2, and one quad motor Rivian tested 3 full tenths off its claim. None of that makes these cars less astonishing. It means the spec sheet is a best case, not a promise. And there is a practical footnote worth remembering from earlier videos on this channel. Repeated launches, punished tires, insurance on performance EVs sits at the expensive end of the market, and range drops hard when you drive the way these numbers invite. Fast is wonderful. Just buy it knowing the stopwatch is optimistic and the running costs are not. The bigger picture, though, is the one that should sink in. A family Cadillac opened this list at 3.7 seconds. A decade ago, that would have won a supercar comparison test. Electric power did not just raise the ceiling on acceleration, it collapsed the floor. Quick is no longer expensive. It is standard equipment. I am Nick, this has been Nick's Car Review, and I will see you in the next one.